We've added a number of features to the Predator X since the last getting started video. Many things look a little bit different from previous versions. So this is going to be a bit of an updated getting started / onboarding video that's going to help answer many of the common questions and go over some of the basic setups to help you guys get started. And for those of you new here, the Predator X is a multi-purpose order entry and management tool that lets users create a variety of fully or semi-automated strategies. It comes with a bunch of built-in options, and it even lets you automate many of your favorite third-party indicator signals. We do have a free trial available. You can join us on Discord to find out more. Links for everything down below. But with that, let's get started. So we imported the Predator and we restarted NinjaTrader. Now let's load it on our chart. The first thing we need to do is make sure we have NinjaTrader's chart trader panel. To do that, go up to the toolbar, click on this little icon right here, and select the chart trader. Now, once we get this, we're good to actually load the Predator. Now, when it comes to strategies, there are two ways to load them. With the Predator X, we must use one specific way because this way it allows us to use actual chart trader controls. So make sure for the Predator X, we load it this specific way. To load it, you just have to right-click on the chart, go to Strategies, and just select the Predator from here. And then once you have it selected, hit Apply, and then we can enable it from the control panel. And then you're going to see that the Predator's chart trader panel appears. You should be good to go from here. Now, I know a lot of guys like to come down to the control panel, click on New Strategy, and load it that way. If you do it this way, it doesn't give you the chart controls and it's going to cause some issues. So never, ever, ever right click, go to New Strategy. This way is not going to work. You must always right click on the chart, go to Strategies, and load it that way. Before moving on to how to actually take trades with the Predator, I first want to go over some basic troubleshooting steps that are going to ensure that everything continues to run smoothly. And this is especially due to the nature of strategies on NinjaTrader 8. So the first thing, I see this happening quite often, is just making sure all previous strategies are cleared. So I often see whenever we restart NinjaTrader 8, it can sometimes save previous strategies inside your strategies tab. And I'll never recommend using any leftover strategy that remains in this tab once you restart NinjaTrader. I always say it's best to just take all of them. You can highlight them and delete them. And then when you're starting your day, just reload a fresh strategy. So right click on the chart, go to strategies, and load it the normal way. But you may be asking, Dre, what if I had all of my settings saved and I don't want to lose them? Well, you can simply just save that template any way you like. So let's say, I don't know, we'll add some random things here. Just doesn't matter, whatever you have saved here. Once you're happy with your template, just click on the template button on the lower right-hand corner, and you can save any settings that you create. And then just name it whatever you want. The only thing I'm going to suggest that we do not use is that save as default button. I don't recommend saving any template as default. And the reason being is if we ever get into a situation where we over filter our conditions and it's not taking trades, saving as default will always reload that bad template. So if we refrain from using this one, just use the regular save button. Anytime you load the Predator, it's always going to be fresh. So we'll show this as an example. We reload it and it's back to the default settings. And then if you want to load your template, just click on that button, load, and just load that settings. And it's going to bring back anything that you had saved. The next step is just simply making sure we reload historical data in NinjaScript. And this is just going to make sure your charts are up to date and all indicators are refreshed. Now, step 3 and 4 are going to be probably the most important ones of these steps. And this is just making sure we turn off show historical trades. When we have the Predator loaded, we do have the ability to see any past performance with this show historical trades. Now, the problem that may come with this once we actually start taking trades is this is going to take any past historical P&L into account. So if you have something like a P&L limit or a kill switch, having show historical trades will take all the past trades as well and add that to your P&L. So you may get into a condition where those limits are already reached, even though in real time you haven't actually taken any trades. So I always say, just make it easy on yourself. Make sure this is turned off, at least for the beginning, while we're still trying to learn how to actually take trades. And then with step 4, again, this has more to do with the show historical trades. Whenever we're physically taking trades, so this could be either running it on market replay or running it on an actual live account, we always must make sure if the predator is taking an actual physical trade, that your order fill resolution is set to standard. So if you scroll all the way to the bottom under historical fill processing, just make sure this is set to standard. And what that's going to do is if we were to take an actual trade, having that order fill resolution set to standard is just going to make sure the actual physical trades are updating properly. And then for the last little bonus tip, and this has to do with any strategy on NinjaTrader, is just to make sure we disable the strategy before we change our time frame, instrument, or bar size. Anything to do with the data series, we must disable it first. So let's say we're on a 1 minute here and we want to change to the 5 minute. Just make sure you're flat in all of your positions, you disable the strategy first, and then you're free to make any changes to your chart. So we'll go to 5 minutes here. Once everything is loaded, you can simply re-enable and then it's going to pick up on that new data series. If you try to change anything with the data series while it's still enabled, it will likely start causing some issues. So always make sure we disable first, change the data series, re-enable the strategy. All right, now let's go over ways we can use the predator to enter trades. Now, I know there are a lot of settings, and I know especially among the newer members, all of these settings can be a little bit overwhelming. But don't worry, I'm going to try and break it down in a way that's going to make it as easy as possible to understand how to set this up. Now, it's just important to remember that the Predator is a multi-purpose order entry and management tool. It is meant to help a wide range of traders. So not everything is going to apply to everyone. In fact, for most of these settings, you may not even ever need to touch. Some of them are very specific to just a small group of traders. But what I want to focus in this video is just how or what triggers the trade and what happens after that trade is triggered. And that's really all that we need to concentrate on. So really, the main thing is just going to be the order management section. And that's because any trade entered by the Predator, whether you're using one of the manual entry buttons or you're using fully auto mode and letting the Predator enter for you, any trade entered by it, it's going to use this same management. So that's any stop loss you use, any trail stop, any profit targets, position size, manual or auto, it's all going to use anything that we configure in here. So what exactly can we do in the order management section? And guys, I don't want to spend too long in this section for this video. I do have another specific order management video and a user guide that explains every setting with a short video attached to it as well. But I just wanted to give a bit of an overview just to kind of help us get started. So with the Predator, you can select your order type. So market, limit, stop market, anything that you want. I think for most people, especially starting out, either market or limit order is going to be the go-to. For this video, I'm just going to stick to market, and that is what I recommend for most people because this is what's going to actually ensure you get into the trade. So market order, then you have your position size, order quantity type. You can choose custom or auto. For the custom, it's just like your order quantity window over here. All you have to do is choose the position size you want. So if you want to enter with 5, if you want to enter with 8, whatever it may be. But the one thing to keep in mind is if we add targets, so if you want to have multiple profit targets, each one is going to have its own quantity box. So we have to choose quantity 1 for target 1. So your first target, we'll set it at 1. Your second target, we'll set it at 2. And third target, it'll have 3 contracts. So you add all of these together and you'll have a total of 6. So that way we can choose a quantity for each separate profit target. Now with the Predator, we also have the ability to let it choose the best position size for us. And that is based on the distance between your entry and your stop and how much you're willing to risk for each individual trade. So we can choose a dollar-based risk per trade, or we can choose a percentage of our account. So really, whatever you need to do, the Predator gives you that ability. Again, I don't want to spend too long on all these little functions because we do have a much more in-depth user guide, and that's going to help it explain a lot better. Again, this video, I don't want to overload you guys with so much information. This is just meant as a getting started video. But quickly, just moving on, we can choose our stop loss type. So if you want to set it based on ticks, if you want to set it at the high or the low of the previous candle. So if we're going long, it's going to place it at the low of the previous candle. A super trend percent. We can even set it at a custom third-party plot. So by default, we have a break-even button. You can just push and it's going to set your stop directly on the break-even price. But you can also set it automatically. This is just when it triggers. So for this example, once we hit 20 ticks into profit, it's just going to move your stop up. You can set that based on risk to reward distance or a ATR as well. Again, the choice is completely up to you. Same thing with your trail stops. The Predator gives you a ton of customization. Do you want to trail the high or the low of the previous candles? Do you want to trail based on an ATR? So it's going to dynamically adjust your stop loss based on the current ATR. Parabolic, if you want to trail by ticks. Even if you have another third-party custom plot, you can trail using that plot as long as it's loaded on the chart. And then with your profit targets, you have up to 4 separate targets we can choose, and each one you can customize however you want. So based on ticks, based on risk to reward, that is the distance between your entry and your stop, multiplied and added as a target. You also have ATR, percentage, no profit. So if you want to enter with the quantity, but maybe you just want to trail your stop until you get stopped out, you can do that by choosing no profit. And then it's not going to set a profit target, but still allow you to trail that stop up. Again, all completely up to you. And I think maybe just to make it a little bit easier, let's head over to our chart. And you're not stuck to just the properties. Once it's loaded on the chart, you also have the ability to customize most of these options directly from the panel. So over here, you can set your profit targets. You can add profit targets. You can change the position size, the type, your stop loss, anything that you want. It's all going to be directly on the panel. All right, so just a few quick examples while it's loaded here on the chart. I'm going to click this eye icon and it's going to display where our orders are going to get set. So here we have the stop loss at 2.1 times the ATR, and that kind of gives us a visual of where it's going to be. Then we have our risk to reward of 1, 2, and 3 for each separate target. So it's just going to take the distance between that entry and that stop and then multiply it accordingly. Now, if we were to move the stop loss around, it's going to automatically adjust. And let's say we want to enter a trade here. We can just click enter long, and it's going to set your stop and your profit targets exactly where we defined it. Now, let's come back out here. And with the chart trader panel, you guys can also adjust it on the go. So if you want to go based on ticks, it's just going to adjust all of that directly from here. If you want to remove profit targets, you can do that as well. Move them around. Anything we define within the order management, that's what it's going to translate over to our manual entry, or if we're doing an auto entry, and I'll show an example of that later as well. But let's change the quantity here. Let's say 5. that's going to update right away. So then we'll do, I don't know, 8. So again, it's just going to automatically enter that position size for target 1, enter that position size for target 2. Now, let me just remove these labels. They're kind of getting in the way. Now, just a few more quick tips with the entry buttons. You don't need to use the eye icon. The eye icon is just to set your entry lines before you enter the trade. This is not going to actually submit any orders. You can move them around freely. You can put them exactly where you want. It's just going to set the lines wherever you want to enter. But let's say we don't have any lines on the chart. Even if you were to just press the enter long button, it's going to automatically submit your stop and your profit targets exactly where we defined. And that way you don't have to mess around with trying to adjust exactly where you need it. Just know any order management you have up here, it's going to automatically calculate that whether you're entering long or entering short. Now, let's go back to the entry lines for a second, and we're going to talk about this buy high, sell low button. All these entry lines do is they just, like we said, they place the lines on the chart based on whatever conditions we have selected here. And we can adjust them beforehand. And all these do is they trigger a trade once you push the actual buy high button or the sell low button if you're going short. Once you push it, it's just going to activate the lines. So whenever the price touches that line, it's going to get you into the trade. So let's see if we get one there. So as soon as it touches that line, it gets us in with any position size that we like. So that's all it really is. These buttons are just to activate the order on the entry line. And these buttons down here will trigger the trade immediately regardless of where you are. Those are really the two main points when it comes to the manual entries. It's just if you want to set an order where once the price touches it, it's going to trigger, or do you want to enter immediately as soon as you push the button? And of course, we have a bunch of different options here as well that are going to help you customize this even more. But those are the main features for the manual entries. I do want to go back into the properties and quickly talk about the auto entries. All right, now let's go over how to set up the auto entry feature. These are conditions that when they're met, the Predator is automatically going to execute and enter the trade for you. So with the Predator, you have multiple options. You have pre-built auto entries like Renko reversal, inside bars, or you can even build your own MA crossover bot. But if none of these options are what you're looking for, we also have the ability to automate third-party indicator signals. So that could be things like a draw object, so arrows or text, or we can even automate many indicator plot value signals as well. So maybe something gives you a +1 or -1 value, or it goes from no plot to some sort of a value. Things like that, we're able to take them and automate them and create our own strategy with the Predator. Again, guys, I don't want to make this video too long because there are quite a few more steps, and I have other videos that explain that in so much more detail. I highly recommend checking those out. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to set up just a simple MA crossover. These steps are going to apply to any auto entry. We have to select the option. So in this case, show MA cross button. And now very important, in order for the Predator to start taking these trades, we must also select the option with the lightning bolts. So in this case, it's the enter at MA cross. Once it's selected, that's going to tell the Predator to start looking for those conditions. So that's really all that we need. Of course, we can customize our moving average. So any moving average that you want, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm just going to do a 9 and 21 EMA. So all you have to do, select your moving average type, the period. All right, so with the moving averages selected, we're going to see they automatically populate on the chart. And I'm just going to play it just so we can see how it actually takes trades. But just one important thing to keep in mind is look at the top right-hand corner here. You're going to see a white button. And this is just going to display the current auto entries you have selected. Just make sure they have the white background. If you click on it and you see that it's transparent, that means that auto entry is off and it's no longer looking for it. So always make sure it's white. That means it's currently active. Now, let me speed this up a little bit. Now, the next thing are your auto entry buttons. And this is how you can control your strategy as it's progressing. So if you want to stop taking trades, you can just toggle this button and it's no longer going to take any new trades. And if you want to maybe just toggle a certain direction, you only want to enter longs, just toggle the shorts off, or the other way around as well. Or leave them both if you don't want to take any trades. Really, the choice is completely up to you. So let me see. So obviously here, I'm just in market replay, and we just had a crossover there. So it's going to enter with any conditions we have set in here. And we have that trail stop, so it's automatically going to start trailing. Now, with the Predator, you also have the ability to set a fully auto or semi-auto mode. And what I mean by that is with this little lightning bolt over here. Let me show this a little better. So this lightning bolt means it's fully auto. So anytime a condition is set, let's see if we get a long entry. So it's just going to execute anytime those conditions are met. So what we can do, what I know a lot of guys like to have, is have a sort of trade preloaded. So just when you toggle it on, it's going to enter that trade for you. But what this shield is going to do is once you enter that trade, it's going to automatically shut off your auto on, and it's not going to take any new trades. So let me show how that looks. See, we get another crossover here. So right now, everything is on. Now we have the shield. So it takes that trade and it automatically shuts off, and it's not going to allow any new entries. So here we get a few crossovers, no more entries until we turn it back on. And again, guys, this is not trading advice. This is just showing how the auto entry system works. Now, lastly, the Predator also has the ability to automate third-party signals. So we're using these live wire indicators for an example, but just to quickly get an idea of how this works. And again, guys, I have a full user guide and another dedicated video that covers this in a lot more detail. Please make sure you watch that video if you're automating third-party indicators with the Predator. But again, this is just a quick overview. All you're going to need is the tag from that indicator. And as long as it's the correct format with the tag plus current bar, like we see here, we should be able to automate many of these third-party indicator signals. So all we have to do is take the tag. So in this case, LMD signal, and we need a yellow for shorts, and it's a Dodger blue for longs. So we go into the Predator properties, and we just set up a custom signal. And again, guys, these steps will be very similar for most third-party draw object indicators. So we just select the object mode and we type in our signal name. So this is the same as the tag we were just looking at. So for the longs and the shorts, for this specific indicator, they're the same. So you just type both of those in. You don't always need a color identifier, but in this case, because they are the same, we do need one. So all we have to do, match up the same colors. So Dodger blue for long, yellow for short. Now let's load it on the chart and see how that looks. When we're using custom signals, we must also verify the validation system. This validation system is going to give you information to let you know if everything is okay. You should see a check mark next to the tag. That means the tag portion is okay. And if you're using a color identifier, you should also see the same colors match up in here. Again, guys, I have a whole different video, covers this in a lot more detail, but just as an example, let me hit play again. And once it detects that arrow, it's going to automatically take the trade with any order management we have selected. We'll see we get a long position as well, just to show. And here we get a long blue arrow. And again, it enters us into a long trade with any order management we have selected. And of course, guys, if you want to set any extra conditions for your automated strategy, so if you only want to take trades within certain times, if you want to skip certain times, if you want to set realized P&L, if you want kill switches, or maybe you just want to trade a certain amount of trades in a day, you can do all of that right within the additional filter section. The Predator is going to give you a ton of customization all at the click of a button. But again, guys, I didn't want to make this video too long. The purpose of this video was just to sort of get an introduction into the Predator X and just to show a few things that are possible with it. We do have a ton of more information in our user guide. You're going to find explanations for all of these options and how you can customize them. But I think just when we're getting started, I think just knowing how to customize your order management, which is going to be probably the most important part, because that applies to any order entered by the Predator. And guides to any manual entries or auto entries, they can all be found on our website in the user guide, and they'll have much better explanations. And I usually create a short video to go along with most of these explanations, so you don't have to sit through a long video for anything that you want to learn. So I think I am going to cut the video here. I really hope you guys found this useful. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me either on Discord or email me support@tradesaber.com. But I'm going to cut it there. Hope you found it useful. As always, take care. Enjoy.